Derek Nally. The government auditor says the Revenue are failing to use their full powers to catch tax evaders. The Taoiseach rejects demands for the Payments to Politicians inquiry to include Ray Burke. And extradition proceedings against Roisin McCalskey are halted because of her ill health. Good evening and welcome to 6-1. Also on the programme this evening, a date is finally agreed for the start of substantive talks on the future of Northern Ireland.
Nominations for the presidency closed today. 5 names will appear on ballot papers at the end of October. And in sport, we'll have the trap draw for Saturday's Irish Derby, the richest greyhound race in the world.
But first, the Taoiseach has denied accusations from the opposition parties that he's attempting to create a smokescreen around the planning controversy in North Dublin. Mr Ahern said the terms of reference of the new inquiry will deal with the issues raised in the letter from property developer Michael Bailey to builder Jim Gogarty, details of which were published last week. Mr Ahern said it will also be empowered to deal with any other planning issues which arise while it is in session. The Taoiseach said it would be unfair to include the £30,000 payment to the Minister for Foreign Affairs Ray Burke in the new separate Payments to Politicians Tribunal.
All of the opposition parties sought to have the business of the House set aside to allow a debate on the inclusion of the payment to Mr Burke in the terms of reference of the Moriarty Tribunal. The Ceann Comhairle ruled against them, but despite that ruling there followed a debate during which the opposition criticised the government's handling of the affair. But the Taoiseach rejected the criticisms. He said he believed it would be unfair and legally impossible now to refer the payment to Mr Burke to the Moriarty Tribunal.
I believe in the issues of both Lowry and Haughey. The McCracken Tribunal found him guilty of some wrongdoing, and it is appropriate that McCracken report going forward to now Moriarty Tribunal should deal comprehensively with those issues to do with bank accounts and other related matters. It is a different issue that is being blamed on Minister Burke with no substance as of yet, in spite of all that's been said. It is obvious to me that at least one of the individuals concerned has huge amount of files, word huge, given to me by others, which will continue to go into the public domain and the drip feed. It suggested
he defended the government's decision to set up a separate tribunal, which he said would deal comprehensively with all the issues raised. But his arguments were rejected by the Fine Gael leader.
I believe that the suggestion by the Taoiseach that we should have some other inquiry into all sorts of planning matters in North County Dublin is simply a smokescreen. We have no evidence, and I challenged the Taoiseach personally when I met him in his office to produce evidence of payments to any other politician. There is no evidence in the public domain of payments to any other politician. And yet the Taoiseach wants some wandering inquiry that will go on for months and months and months, while Minister Burke continues as Minister for Foreign Affairs.
But the Taoiseach urged Mr Bruton to await the terms of reference before making any judgment on the new inquiry.
And what can be done, Deputy Bruton, is that the issue of the 30,000 and the related Bailey JSME land can be dealt with as the first instance. But you know, and I know, without allegation, that people are saying there could be 6 or 7 other issues. Now, I'm not going to get anyone to inquire into them, but if information transpires that there is in the sifting process those issues, then they can deal with them. They will not deal with them unless they're raised. And in fact, it is our belief that this whole matter can be dealt with in 3 months.
Well, Una Claffey, our political correspondent, is in our Dáil studio. Una, what exactly happened in the Dáil this afternoon?
Well, it was quite extraordinary, really, Una, what happened. As you know, the Cabinet this morning was discussing the terms of reference for the new tribunal, which will be the tribunal into the whole question of planning in North County Dublin. It agreed those terms of reference, but the opposition had not as yet received them from the government because I understand the Attorney-General was doing some final work on them. Now, in the meantime, the Dáil sat, and the opposition attempted to raise and indeed to have the business of the House suspended so that it could raise the question of including the £30,000 payment to Ray Burke in the Moriarty Tribunal, and also the issue raised by Democratic Left yesterday, which was that the Taoiseach should, if you like, leave Mr Burke in the Cabinet without portfolio but transfer his powers to another minister so that he wouldn't have to deal specifically with the Northern Ireland talks, but indeed with all the other issues that he would normally deal with while the tribunal was in session. Now, the Ceann Comhairle actually ruled that this did not warrant an actual separate debate, but he then allowed an hour of very acrimonious debate to actually take place, during which the Taoiseach announced that indeed he had agreed with his Cabinet colleagues on the terms of reference, and that the new tribunal would also be able to look into any other issue which would arise in relation to planning in North County Dublin during the course of its activities, and also, of course, that it could look into the £30,000 cash donation to Ray Burke. Now, John Bruton in particular vociferously challenged the Taoiseach on that and accused him of creating a smokescreen. The House broke up over a vote on whether or not the order of business should proceed, and it has now just concluded that business, and it looks now like we will have a debate tomorrow. There was a rumour in the House from opposition deputies that the government was only going to allow an hour to debate the terms of reference in the House tomorrow. The opposition were furious about that, and Deputy Prime Minister Rossa of the Democratic Left called for a day-long debate. So as yet we don't know the actual arrangements for the debate on the new tribunal, but the likelihood is, of course, that the new tribunal will go ahead and that the cash donation to Ray Burke will be part of its remit, although not included directly in its terms of reference and not in the Moriarty tribunal.